Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's good to see you all. It's time for a new series and I thought we'd get excited about the A1200. There's been a bit of content released from retrogames Limited. There's also been the announcement that October they will be revealing more. So we have a month here before they do that. So I kind of figured let's start a bit of a countdown to the A1200. And for this video, we're going to talk about 10 games I'd love to see included on the A1200. These are the games that will be included like on the carousel. Again, we don't know how many we're going to get included. I would assume it's 20, 25. That's the way they've usually gone with these. Obviously, I know the C64 Mini was a bit of an exception on that one, but the last few releases have all had between like 20 and 25 games. So we're just going to go with 10 for now. I'm also going to do this in parts, so there'll be other parts with this, and we're just going to talk about games that we'd love to see on there. It's a fantasy list. These games are never going to be included because, let's face it, licensing would be a nightmare with some of these games that I've picked here. Also, I will promise I'm not peppering the list with sports games. Anyone that knows me knows I love a sports game. I've tried to be fair and balanced and try to pick a variety of genres of games. Maybe not been massively fair to platform games in truth, but we all know like I'm not the biggest fan of platform games. But I've tried to pick a balanced list, and I hope you'll participate in the comments and talk about some games that you'd like to see included. You can pick 10 if you want. You can just talk about a couple, or you can pick a whole 100 if you fancy it. I'm going to be doing this in like 4 or 5 parts, I would say. So it's just a bit of fun to build up to the announcement in October. Once we hit October, then I've got a few more ideas of some videos to do. But until we know what is going to be included and the format they're going to take, like in terms of announcing it and everything, it's just a little bit of fun and just a bit to get us excited on the run up to the A1200's release. So without further ado, let's crack on with the list of 10 games I'd love to see included on the A1200. So the first game we're going to talk about on this list is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and I stress this is the graphic adventure. This was released in 1989 by Lucasfilm Games. This was one of those famous LucasArts graphic adventures, point and clicks, absolutely brilliant, and it follows the film very closely. So if you're a fan of the movie, I mean, it is my favourite Indiana Jones movie. I know it's the same for quite a lot of people. This follows the movie very closely. The music in it is brilliant as well, and that also follows the movie. So if you're familiar with the plot of the movie, you should be good to go with this game. The only tip I will give you, and I hope this doesn't count as a spoiler, so if it does, fast forward for 10 seconds. When you go into the catacombs, don't forget to get the wine bottle and fill it with water. And that's all I'm going to say, because if you don't, that can be a game-breaking end. You need that when you get down into the catacombs. So there you go. There's a little tip for you. That's all I'm going to say. I also have a full playthrough of this game on my channel. I played this on the A500 Mini, and yeah, good fun. Reason I'm including this on the A1200, there's a couple of reasons. Firstly, I love the game with a passion. I loved all the LucasArts point and clicks. I just absolutely love them so much. This was one of my favorites. So many memories attached to it. But also, there's part of this game where you really need a keyboard. That was a challenge for me playing it on the A500 Mini. In fact, I plugged my keyboard in specifically to use on there, so I got around the problem. But it'd be nice to have this one on a machine that has a working keyboard. So there's definitely some of that you need, because you need it for the fighting. Sometimes you can talk your way out of the fighting, and I found when I played it on the Mini that I did remember some of the dialogue trees that from when I played it the first time around. So I did manage to get out of a lot of the fights, which was good. But anytime you do need to fight, and there will be some occasions you do, you need a keyboard. You have to have one. So you couldn't really do that on the Mini without plugging a keyboard in. So it'd be nice to have it on the system so you don't have to plug one in, you know? And it's just a lot of fun. It's a brilliant. If you're a fan of these style of games, it's brilliant. If you're not, then I guess there's not much in it for you. And it also, I remember in the original, they included like the Grail diary in the box. It was just fantastic. It just made me feel like I was Indiana Jones when I played this when I was a kid. And I remember the first time I played it and like completed it, I broke my wrist just when I was at school, and I was just about to do my final exams, and I was in a plaster cast when I completed this game. So because obviously it's, I only needed to play it on the mouse, but I broke my right wrist and I'm right-handed. So I completed this game left-handed. So that was my claim to fame. I mean, it wasn't easy doing the fighting, I remember, but apart from that, using the mouse was fairly straightforward, and it is one of them games you can play if you're in that situation, so that's good. But yeah, an absolute classic. Does make you feel like you're Indiana Jones, and I think definitely would love to see this. I'd love to see it on the carousel because I like the box art as well. So it's a simple box art. It's just Indian and his dad, but it just reminds me of the movie, so it'll be lovely to see that on the carousel. Okay, game number 2 is Syndicate from Bullfrog, released in 1993. What a game this was. I mean, this is sort of like a sci-fi, strategy, action game. Absolutely brilliant. I loved this game when I was younger. Sort of Blade Runner vibes to it, you know, set in that future world. You're in charge of a bunch of agents. It's all to do with corporations of the future and stuff, and you go on missions for the corporation. Sometimes you'll have assassination missions, sometimes you'll have to corrupt somebody, and you use like a brainwashing tool to corrupt somebody to come back to your side, then you have to get them safely back to your corporation. It's just an absolutely amazing game. Kind of cyberpunk vibes as well, and you're controlling like augmented cyborgs, so you kind of can upgrade them. You can upgrade their bodies and stuff. The guns you get, you can research and upgrade and turn your men into absolute killing machines. It's fantastic fun. If you've never played a Syndicate game, I advise you to play it. I mean, I probably love Syndicate Wars, the sequel, more, but that's not available on the Amiga, so we have to make do with what we can get. I did have Syndicate Wars on the PC, and that was absolutely fantastic. I can still kind of play it now, but it's hard to play now. You can sort of play it on emulation and stuff, but that's the one thing I hate about PC gaming, is like games from way back in the day, very hard to play on modern PCs. But anyway, we don't want to talk about PCs, we're here to talk about Amiga. And Syndicate, one of the very best I've ever played on the Amiga. Fantastic game. Even like the website I go on, Lemon Amiga, that's got an average score of 8.76 out of 10 on there, so lots of people agree. It's really hard to put it into a box though, because it isn't really a strategy game necessarily. There's a lot of action, there's a lot of tactics to it, so it's kind of, it's got a little bit of everything really, you know, and it's just a fantastically fun game to play. If you've never played it before, what are you waiting for? Even if it's not included on the A1200, I would say add it yourself, because I'm sure we have that capability to add games. I'm sure they'll be bringing that back to this machine, and then you've got no excuses not to play it. But yeah, truly fantastic game. I don't think there's any reason why you need a working keyboard for this one as such, but this is one game I suppose they might be able to include. I don't know. Again, licensing might come into play, but you know, anyway, if you've never played it before, definitely play it. If you have played it, let me know in the comments what you think of this classic game. I have got a video up on the channel somewhere of me playing Syndicate for a little while, and I'll try and include a link somewhere if I can. And it's another one of those games, I think, where if it was included on the carousel, the box art is so colourful and bright green, it's just amazing. That would look quite good on the carousel, I think, too. Next, we're going to talk about Cannon Fodder. And what a game this is. A game that I don't think would be able to be included, because I think somebody said Sensible's licensing is like really difficult, Sensible software, so I don't think we'd be able to have this one. But this is a great game. You've probably played it in some format or another. I'm pretty sure it's been released on like Nintendo and Sega, as well as like on PC as well, so I'm sure if you have heard of this game, you've probably played it before. If you've ever heard the music for a start, that always sets the memories racing on this one. I'll never forget that when I first ever loaded up the game and heard that theme music. It was fantastic. But the game itself is just a dream to play. It really is. It's kind of a top down, again, I guess you'd probably call it strategy, but not full blown action. You're clicking the mouse, you're running your squad of soldiers all over the place, you're trying to avoid gunfire coming at you from all sides. You get grenades, you get rocket launcher, you get obviously a machine gun is what you have to start the game, and the object is to destroy all the enemy soldiers before they destroy you. And one of the brilliant things about this game as well is like when your soldiers survive, they start to get promoted the more missions they do, and if they get killed in battle, which will happen I'm sure from time to time, you see the little hill where all your soldiers line up, you'll see the tombstones start appearing all over the place. So it's kind of got a bit of a somber message. Even the title screen has got a poppy on it, so there is a somber message there, you know, about war and that, and you see your soldiers dying as well. So it is quite sad. You do get attached to these little guys, and then when they get killed in battle, it's kind of heartbreaking a little bit. But the theme music kind of pees all over that sentiment in a sense. When I'm singing "War's never been so much fun," it's like But you know what I mean? I think that's tongue-in-cheek, isn't it? And at the end of the day, this is definitely a game, firstly, to have a lot of fun with, but secondly, you can have a bit of reflection as well. A lot of the soldiers were named after the developers as well, and the people responsible for making the game from Sensible Software themselves, so that's a bit of fun if you're familiar with any of their developers and stuff. It's just a great fun game to play, and I can't imagine that there's anybody out there that hasn't played this, but it can be a little bit frustrating sometimes as well. Like sometimes the soldiers will still blend into the background, so it's quite hard to see them. So all of a sudden a bullet will come and take one of your treasured generals out, and you just don't even know where it came from because you couldn't see anybody. I had a few problems sometimes with blowing, because there's shacks you have to blow up, and if you don't blow them up completely and you run out of grenades, then soldiers are just going to keep coming, so then you have to quit the level and stuff. Well, that's happened to me before anyway. It might just be a me thing, that one. But yeah, so there are a couple of little frustrations with the game sometimes, but it is still a fantastically fun game, very fast paced as well, and yeah, I would recommend it again to anybody. And it's another game that I don't think it doesn't need a keyboard really, just play it on a mouse and that's all you do. But licensing is going to be an issue, I'm pretty sure, so I wouldn't really be expecting to see it on there, but you just never know in this day and age, do you? You never know if they can get permission with certain things, so I guess we will wait and see. But like I said, this is a fantasy list. It's not set in any kind of reality. We just want to see the games that we want on there, and for me, Cannon Fodder is just one of the all-time classics from the Amiga generation personally. I have a video on here, but I'm playing it on the Mega Drive on here because I wanted to play a different format, and I'd never played it on another system when I played that. Just an absolute cracking game. And so to game 4, Sensible World of Soccer, I've put 96-97 version. Well, this is my favourite version. I believe this is the pinnacle personally, but people might have more reverence to other versions. But Sensible World of Soccer is the one I chose because you could play a league season in pretty much any league in the world that existed back then. And it's just absolutely phenomenal to think of the detail that they put into this game. And it's the reason why I'm playing a series of it on my channel. You know, I'm on about part 20 or something, I think, on that. Not doing very well. I still suck at this game even though I love it. It is a love-hate relationship I have with Sensible World of Soccer, to be honest with you, because I love it, and when I do good things I feel great, but more often than not I'm getting my butt kicked every time. Anyone who's watched the series on here will know. I mean, I managed to get Manchester United relegated, then I took a couple of seasons to get re-promoted, and I did, and now I'm back at the bottom of the league again. So it's like probably going to get relegated again. But many people's favourite football game on the Amiga, I think it's mine. I do. I absolutely adore Kickoff 2. And I really like Player Manager as well from the Kickoff series. I also like Championship Manager as well, but that's a bit of a change of pace. And that very nearly got on here above Sensible World of Soccer, but I wanted the more action-packed version. But Championship Manager will probably appear at some point for sure. Again, we will probably have licensing issues for this one, so as it's another Sensible Software game, so I wouldn't be expecting to see it necessarily. It would be fantastic if it was on there. An absolute classic. I mean, so many people, I've been on Lemon Amiga to look at this one as well. 8.88 is the score. So many people have voted for it. I mean, so many people in the comments just writing best football game ever, still play it to this day. You know, someone's on there says that they bought an A500 Mini just so they could play Sensible World of Soccer. That's the sort of reverence this game is held in, and I'm pretty sure if you are any kind of Amiga fan and any kind of football fan, you've played this game. I'm not to say that you have to if you're not a football fan, of course, but you never know. Give it a go. This game could get you into football. Who knows? It is that good. It's just a staggering achievement for back then as well. I mean, it's hard to believe. Well, I would say Sensible World of Soccer in general has been around for 30 years, but this version's nearly been around for 30 years, so it's just astonishing, really. Just can't understand where those years have gone, to be honest with you. And the fact we're still talking about a game like this and I'm still enjoying playing a series of it on the channel is just testament to how brilliant this game is, and I would have been very remiss if I hadn't included it on here. So here it is. I think as well, from people of my generation, and which I know a lot of people are from the same generation as me who are fans of this channel, it's great to go back and look at some of the older players as well, and you know, just remember from when you used to grow up watching the football. You know, it's like the Premier League hadn't been going for very long. Back in 96, 97, just a few years, and I mean, it was the heyday for me because of being a Manchester United fan since I was a kid, like since the 70s. You know, we didn't win a lot until the 90s started, so a couple of FA Cups, but that was all. So it was a great time to be a football fan for me personally, but for a lot of people it was very exciting when the Premier League started. Football really took off. Obviously Premier League started and Sky TV got hold of the rights, and we went from seeing an occasional football match on TV to watching at least one or two a week. So yeah, it's a reminder of those brilliant times, a reminder of those times on the Amiga, and just a great fun game to play. Had to be included. I say this with all these games, but if you haven't played it and you are a football fan, you have to. I'm pretty sure I'm talking to nobody when I say this, but yeah, for definite, give this a go. And I would imagine I'm going to see this on many a list. Game 5 is It Came From the Desert, and I would hope if they did include this, which again, Unlikely, I know, but there was also an expansion pack called Ant Heads. It would be lovely if they could include that with it, but asking for this to be included is one thing. Getting greedy and wanting the two of them is something else. But what a game this was. Cinemaware were probably my favourite games producers from back then. They were the most memorable for me. I mean, TV Sports Football was one of the first games I ever played, and what I loved about Cinemaware games was the presentation. Like Rocket Ranger nearly got on here in place of this, but I just think there's something more playable about It Came From The Desert. Even though there's like a lot of time constrictions on this game and everything, I feel like there's more in Rocket Ranger. I've seen these games now described as just a series of mini games like Rocket Ranger and It Came From the Desert, which I guess they are, but I feel like it's a bit harsh. The atmosphere that both of those games provide is something else. It Came From the Desert, I think the reason why I picked this one more was because Rocket Ranger had some frustrations with it, like the whole takeoff sequence. If you've ever played Rocket Ranger, I don't need to say any more than that. We may be talking about Rocket Ranger at some point else, so I'm not going to go too much into it because there might be a reason to talk about it later, and I think I'll probably understand what I'm talking about there. So we'll just talk about It Came From the Desert, and an absolute cracker. I mean, absolutely phenomenal presentation. Yeah, maybe the gameplay's a little bit lacking, but its atmosphere is just something else. You are in like this kind of B-movie sci-fi, the town has been invaded by giant ants, because there's a picture of one on the box, so it's not like I'm giving too much away there, is it? You can see the picture of the giant ant on the box, but it's just fantastic. One of the people that reviewed it on the Lemon Amiga said, "We didn't have GTA 5 back in the day, kids, but this was as close as you could be in 1989, having the feeling to roam around a big map with loads of places and getting to shoot, run, throw grenades, fly airplanes and so on." I mean, this is the first time I've ever heard It Came From the Desert compared to a GTA game, but yeah, in that sense, I guess that review is right. It was incredibly cinematic, and I think that's where they get their title from, isn't it? Their cinema, where every one of their games. I had all the TV sports games. I had Rocket Ranger, I had It Came From the Desert. I'd never played Defender of the Crown until recently, so that was one that did slip through. But I also played King of Chicago, Lords of the Rising Sun. I never played the Three Stooges game because I wasn't a fan of the Three Stooges, being that I'm English. I think that's mostly an American thing. I never played the Sinbad game either, so that's another one that did slip through the cracks for me. But also, there's another Cinemaware game on this list, so I don't want to spoil that, so I won't mention that. Although, if you're a fan of these people, you realise which game I've left off the list, so you'll probably know what I'm talking about, but we'll come to that a little bit later. But their sports games were great as well. The presentation, I always felt like they put so much effort in. Maybe sometimes the gameplay lacked a little bit, who knows, but it's a miracle that one of their games did not make my 10, to be honest. There will definitely be in part 2, I'm pretty sure, but it got bumped out at the last minute. Again, I'll mention that when I reveal the game itself. Yeah, Cinemaware, just absolutely fantastic publishers as far as I'm concerned. I'd say, like I always say with these games, if you've not played this one, you should do, because it's an absolute treat. And like I said, the atmosphere is something else. These were games as well that when I was a kid, because I was still a kid back then, I was only 15 when this game came out, I never finished these games because I didn't have the patience. When you're a kid, you don't, do you? So I think these are nice games to revisit in your adult years, because you've probably got a little bit more patience to stick it out and do it properly. When you're a kid, you just want to go around shooting things and stuff like that, or scoring goals if you're playing football games or whatever, and this game required a little bit more thought to finish, and subsequently I've never completed it, but yeah, definitely worthy of a place on the machine. And again, fantastic box art. It's the theme really, isn't it, with the ones I'm picking here, but imagine seeing these games on the carousel, it'd be awesome. Game number 6 is The Secret of Monkey Island. I might as well just finish right there, but we all want to see some of the gameplay, so I'm not going to, because I don't think there's going to be anybody that hasn't heard of this one. But once again, with Lucasfilm games being involved, that means Disney are involved now, doesn't it? And there's no way you're going to get licenses for some of these games, and this one would be one of them, I'm pretty sure. I'm assuming that Disney do own Lucasfilm games, as they do own all the movies, like the Lucasfilm movies and that, don't they? So you would imagine, and that makes it very difficult, clearly, but an absolute classic of a game. These point-and-click adventures from LucasArts were something else, because not only were they brilliantly executed, but also the sense of humour was fantastic. The writing was amazing in these games, and this one I think is one of the funniest ones. I mean, there's a lot of humour in the Indiana Jones one as as well, and there's a lot of humour in all of them. Zack McCracken as well, and I've never played Loom, actually, I must be honest. Never played that one, so there's one there that I do need to check out at some point. Yes, these games do have that humour. I completed Full Throttle, and I completed The Day of the Tentacle. I mean, absolute classic games. Funny enough, I've never completed Maniac Mansion. I've completed Secret of Monkey Island and Indiana Jones as well. The Last Crusade, anyway. I don't think I've ever finished The Fate of Atlantis, but yeah, these games are awesome. This is another one. I got a whole playthrough of this on the channel, and I'm still working on number 2. I've got to get back to that. This is another one of them series that I haven't finished yet, and it's just been dragging on for years now, so I really need to get my butt in gear and get that finished. But yeah, Secret of Monkey Island is a classic. It's all about pirates, in case you didn't know. You wanna be a pirate, and it's your journey into becoming one, basically. Lots of weird stuff going on, voodoo, and like your arch nemesis is a ghost. So it might sound very weird, but once you start playing the game, you'll realise what I'm talking about, and also realise that I haven't gone insane, because that is actually the plot. So you fall in love with somebody as well, and you have to invent a voodoo potion, and there's just weird things going on. I think this is one of them games as well, though, that if you miss anything when you leave the main island, you could break your game. So a little tip for you is, like, before you leave the island, and you will leave the island at some point, then save the game and keep that save from before you leave, just in case, because there's no going back, trust me, once you've left, and if you've forgotten something, that can be game breaking, as far as I know. And from back in the day, if that happened to you, it was absolutely heartbreaking. This game is, I talk about Lemon Amiga often, the website. This game is their number 1 game. In fact, I don't think I picked a game that was outside the top 25 on their website, quite astonishingly. I mean, and I just picked my favourite games, but maybe I got good taste after all, because most of the games I picked, I'm pretty sure all of them were in the top 25. If not, they were definitely in the top 50. And when you think how many games are out for the Amiga, then that's astonishing. But I can't imagine there's many people that haven't played Secret of Monkey Island. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Amiga version, because it was out on PC as well, and I'm sure it was probably out on other machines of the time, but they're the 2 versions I know. And it's an absolute classic. You play as Guybrush Threepwood, and like I said, you're on your journey to want to become a pirate. Why you'd want to, Lord knows, considering what he goes through in this game, but I'm glad he did, because it's an adventure and a half. I'm not going to spoil anything else about the story. It's just got to be played and experienced, but an absolute classic. But in all good consciousness, I can't see them being able to include it. But shame really, because it is a belter. And if you don't want to play through it yourself, which I'd highly advise that you do, then say you can watch the playthrough on this channel if you want to. Game 7 is Flashback, released in 1992 by Delphine Software. Well, I said I didn't have platform games in here, or didn't do them justice maybe, but I would say Flashback counts as a bit of a platform game. There's certainly platforming elements to it, there's puzzle solving, there's shooting. It is very much almost like a Prince of Persia game in a sense. The character's very well animated, and there's fights to do and puzzles to solve. I absolutely adore it. Sort of like a sci-fi, cyberpunk, futuristic game with aliens and all sorts going on, and yeah, absolutely brilliant. Flashback. I never finished it on the Amiga. In fact, the claim to fame for me is this is the first game I ever played on this channel, and I played it on the Switch when the Switch version came out, and I completed it. I think I did it in 10 parts, and it's the first time I'd ever finished Flashback, so I was really chuffed with myself, and that was the first game I ever played on here. So it started the channel off. Yeah, I loved it, and it was very faithful to the Amiga version, the Switch version. It'll be nice to finish it on an Amiga though, so maybe, who knows, they could include it on here. Delphine did some belting games on the Amiga, and I could have included any of them on here. Another World, Future Wars, Cruise for a Corpse, Operation Stealth, and just some fantastic games. I don't know if this was a sequel to Another World as such, but it was released a year after, and a lot of people do prefer Another World. It can be a bit clunky at times, like when you've got the shield and you want to try and use the shield and the gun at the same time. That can be a bit difficult to master, but you might not know what I'm talking about, obviously, if you've never played this game before, but people who have will probably know what I'm talking about. Puzzles as well, not really that taxing, so, and I think the fact I prefer it to Another World is just purely my preference. I think a lot of people may possibly prefer Another World, so but they're both absolutely great games. Lemon Amiga, for example, Flashback gets 8.76 from 480 votes, and Another World got 8.76 as well from 545 votes. So you got more votes, but it got the same score. So take your pick, really. The two. They're both on like quite a similar mould, to be fair. I just felt like for me, Flashback played better, but that's just a personal thing. Maybe let me know in the comments if you've played both, which one you preferred out of the two, and let me know as well if you've ever finished it, because I will be interested to hear. I don't know if I'm a bit of a cheater as the fact I finished it on the Switch, but I found it a lot easier to control, funnily enough, on the Switch, so I was quite happy with that. But yeah, overall, definitely a game worth playing. It can be a bit frustrating at times, so don't think it's all perfect and all great, but I think a staggering game. And again, not really one that is necessary to put on a machine with a keyboard necessarily. I don't remember there being too many problems with playing this, but certainly if I manage to finish it on the Switch, that doesn't have a keyboard, so it's not really about that for me. It's just about putting a game on here that I have a lot of fond memories for, and Flashback is definitely one of those. Next game we have is PGA European Tour. Now this one might be the most controversial one on the list because people might not be into golf. I know it's a bit more of a niche sport. Me personally, I find playing golf on any of the consoles or any of the computers, I find golf games relaxing, and so it was a toss-up for me. I really wanted to put TV Sports Football on there because it was one of the first games I ever played on the Amiga, and it has a lot of memories for me, but it still can have a few frustrations, and I fancied putting a game on that would be quite chill and relaxing. For me, being British, obviously, I just figured PGA European Tour was the way to go. I did like the original, obviously, but I love playing European Tour because there's so many golfers from that generation, like Seve, Ballesteros, Alathabal, Nick Faldo, Woosnam, Montgomery, that I have memories for. So it's lovely to put the European Tour version on for that reason. And also I like the courses on the European Tour version. I think they're fantastic. And it's just great. I played this obviously for recording purposes for this video, and I absolutely sucked. I missed the cut on the tournament. It's funny they had a cut for the first round. I don't know if that used to be the rules back then, but I literally got eliminated after the first round. Finished 6 over par, so not very impressive. Played Le Golf National, which is the one they played the Ryder Cup at in 2018. But I had fun. Even though I sucked and I hit some really terrible shots, I still enjoyed myself, and I still liked looking at all the other golfers. I remembered. I do remember a lot of the Americans from the original PGA Tour as well, but it was just something nice about playing European Tour. And also they do have an AGA version that came out for the A1200 back in the day, so there's a version that they could include, which would make it lovely. It was actually released by Ocean, this game as well, way back then. I don't think they released the originals. I'm sure they all came out of Electronic Arts, so I'm not quite sure why Ocean got hold of this one, but I'm sure EA was still involved at some point. But yeah, a fantastic game. I think this is my favourite of the PGA games, which is why I included it. But like I said, I included this one as well because of the AGA aspect as well, the fact they could include that version. Again, with licensing, with the fact EA are involved, I don't know if they'd be able to do it, but I think it will be fun. I think it would be nice to have a golf game on. I think as well with golf, it's quite an easy sport to play. It's not there's not complicated rules like you get with if someone wants to learn football and they've got to know about offsides and all the rest of it, or American football. A lot of people are perplexed by that if they don't know it. Golf, pretty easy. Hit ball, get ball in hole. It doesn't get more simple than that, really, does it? And also you can play multiple players with the same controller as well, so that's quite a nice feature as well, obviously, of playing a golf game. So yeah, I think it would be nice to have one included. That's why I picked it, but who knows? Let me know in the comments what you think. I mean, literally, I could have picked this. I could have picked the American version. I was also hesitant on maybe picking Microprose Golf, which I really love as well. But I just think there's something simple and beautiful about these games. It's just click, 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 and then you hit your shot. Microprose can be a little bit more technical, and also you're dealing with handicaps and all sorts of stuff like that. And this one you're playing tournaments as well, which is a lot of fun. So that's why I picked this game. And yeah, I would love to see a golf game on there. Not for the box art on this one, because the box art's pretty boring, to tell you the truth. Boring and bland, but the game is far from boring and bland. Game 9, UFO Enemy Unknown from Microprose Software, released in 1994. Not much to say about this really, apart from, again, absolute classic. The series that's now known as XCOM. Absolutely fantastic game, this one. Maybe the A500 version not great, so there is an AGA version of this, which is again another reason why I sort of picked it, because I thought to myself we could have the AGA version. I remember playing it back in the day and I didn't have too many problems with it, but since then I've read that people that played the A500 version, it used to run quite chuggy, so again, you'd probably need the AGA version to play this game. Otherwise it would tend to play a bit slow. I don't think it's unplayable though in that format. It's just it's going to be a lot slower. So if they did include it, which again we're clutching at straws probably, but it would be lovely if they included the AGA version with the faster CPU, and that would just obviously make it go along a lot quicker. So that would be nice. But again, we're in the realms of fantasy, like I said, with this list. So for our purposes, yeah, we want to see the AGA version without a doubt. I don't know if anyone's played an XCOM game before, but I mean the genre of course is alien invasion, strategy, tactical, it's a shooter, it's just, they're great games, they really are. This one averages 8.8 on Lemon Amiga. Only got 100 votes though, which is a bit surprising, but yeah, it's still rated in the top 20 I think on there of all time, so it says all you need to say really. I'm a massive fan of the series, massive fan of the XCOM games. I always suck at them though, to be honest. The thing I don't like about them, I guess, is always the times, the overall time limit that you get on these games. It's like for XCOM, for example, I always feel like if I take my time in a mission, I'm under pressure because of the overarching story, the fact that you've got to get things done quick. But that also adds to the realism, I suppose, of like if you were in the midst of an alien invasion and every battle was going on, you'd get it finished quickly because you'd want to get to the overall story, wouldn't you? I mean, all the battles within that big story are just a tiny part. So I do get that. The realism factor is just fantastic, and I would say for sure, without a doubt, this game has stood the test of time. I have the entire collection of like XCOM and UFO games on my PC. I bought it in a Steam sale at one point. It was fantastic. I've got them all at my fingertips to play anyway, but it still makes the first 10 that I'd love to see on the A1200, because I feel like so many more people need to play these games if they've never played them before. You've got to have a love for this sort of game, of course, but definitely of its type, one of the greatest games ever made, without a doubt, and one of the greatest games ever made anyway. But just, you know, you've really got to be into it obviously to appreciate it, and I understand that some people might find these type of games boring and they might get confused because it can get quite technical, but definitely if you're a fan of any kind of tactical shooting strategy game, then you've probably already played this, let's face it. But if you've never played a UFO game or an XCOM game, you have to. And this would be an amazing addition to the A1200. And finally, at number 10, we have Wings from Cinemaware, released in 1990. I did promise you a second Cinemaware game. Here it is. Wings, absolute classic, flight simulator, combat game. Again with heart, a bit like Cannon Fodder. You know, you get attached to your pilots and then they can get shot down without warning, and all of a sudden then you don't have your favorite pilot anymore. But also, like it's similar with Cannon Fodder, you go through missions, you will get promoted. It's an absolute classic game. Again, I've got a little bit of gameplay footage of this on the channel already. I played for the nostalgia half hour. It's a belter, and initially when we played it on the A500 Mini as well, it didn't run very well. I put out a video with a little patch for that to make it run better, so it would be nice to have it included on here just to see if it runs better from the off, I suppose, without having to mess around with patches. But I think right up there for one of my favourite games on the Amiga. And I'm not really a flight simulator kind of person, but that's how I feel about this game, because it isn't like a flight simulator, I suppose, in that sense, because they can get quite complicated with all the buttons you've got to press. This one, not quite so complex. Flying around, like your planes are yellow and the enemy's planes are red, so it's quite easy to spot an enemy plane and just going around trying to shoot them. You do have other missions as well, like bombing, and they're kind of arcadey in a sense. They really break away a bit from the simulation as such. They're kind of side-on little missions where you've just got to bomb targets and stuff, and it's still fun though. But the real fun comes when you're in the proper dogfights in the sky. They're just absolutely brilliant. And again, Cinemaware, they pack their games full of atmosphere. They always do. And they don't let you down on this one, without a shadow of a doubt. Even the little detail of like the pilot in the plane when you're in that cockpit view and you just see his scarf flapping around in the wind, and he's sort of like got his Biggles helmet on, It's a little attention to detail with their games. Brilliant. And when you get shot, you can hear the bullets hit the plane and you can see them sometimes on the bullet holes in the plane and stuff. Absolutely amazing atmosphere. And yeah, there's a couple of little minor foibles with the game, I guess, if you like. Like all these games have. No game is perfect, is it really? Let's face it. I mean, even like a great game like Sensible World of Soccer has its issues from time to time and frustrations. So you do get that with any game, but I think Wings is an absolute classic, and I would love to see it on there again for new generations of people to experience. I'm pretty sure people from my generation and stuff would have played this game before. And as I will always ask you, let me know in the comments if you love this game and how much you've played of this, and let me know if you agree with me that you don't really have to be a flight sim fan to enjoy this kind of game. I don't think so anyway. And again, it's another one that's got fantastic box art as well. I know it's been a bit of a theme of my 10 here, but this would look amazing on the carousel. As big a fan as I am of Cinemaware games, this might actually be my favourite Cinemaware game. It's got to be right up there, possibly with TV Sports Football, and I know TV Sports Football didn't make the list, but I have reasons for that. I didn't want to include more than 2 sports games just to do other genres justice. And the 2 I picked, I wanted on more. But yeah, this could well be their greatest. That's saying a lot considering they have quite a good reputation and body of work. So yeah, please add this one if you can. But again, I don't know what license is like with Cinemaware because they don't technically, I don't think they exist anymore. So I don't know how that works, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. Okay, everybody. So there you have it. There are my 10 games I'd love to see included on the A1200. The first 10, this is part 1. They are Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Syndicate, Cannon Fodder, Sensible World of Soccer 96-97, It Came from the Desert, Secret of Monkey Island, Flashback, PGA European Tour, UFO, Enemy Unknown, and Wings. Like I said, this is just a fantasy list. I know that I probably couldn't include hardly any of those games for licensing, truth be told. But, you know, if there were no such things as licensing and everything else, these are 10 games I would love to see on that carousel. It'd be interesting to see, like, when we've done the series and then the games get announced, it would be interesting to see how many of them actually do get included. My bet would be probably over the course of the 5 parts, or I keep saying 5 parts. I don't know how long we're going to go for on this. The plan for me was to do 5 parts of this. We might go longer, who knows. But yeah, I would imagine that not many are going to get included. I mean, say they announce 25. If I do 5 parts of this, it's going to be 50 games. So I'm picking 50. They're only going to announce maybe 25, 20 or something like that. And yet I still reckon a huge portion are not going to be on there. But we will see, I suppose. It'll be a bit of fun. And we could even make it a bit of a fun competition, like to see if you get more than I do, like certain people who write in and like name their 10s and everything. I'm sure you're bound to do better than I am, but I have absolutely no inside information as to what will be included, how many will be included, etc, etc. So we're just purely flying blind here, but it's just a bit of fun, isn't it? Let's face it. I hope you enjoyed the video and the format of the video itself, and yeah, we'll be back soon for part 2. I'm going to try and do more videos. I am trying my best. I've actually set my computer up now in a more comfortable place, so hopefully I can do more videos. It's a bit awkward to do videos from where I am here. It's a lot less professional setup, but it's a bit more comfortable for me. It means I don't have to sit up at a desk and feel a little bit more uncomfortable, so it works better for me if I'm feeling a bit out of sorts, which obviously, let's face it, I have been recently. So hopefully that will mean more videos, who knows. Okay everybody, thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to name your 10 for the first part in the comments below. Thanks a lot everyone, take care, see you soon, bye for now.